But this is now back in the states where it belongs. And again, every Democrat, every Republican, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated and brought back to the states. Then about 10 years ago, they started talking about the number of weeks and the number of this and that. No. Right now, it's in the hands of the people. The people in the individual states are voting. I did something that's going to bring our country together eventually. But because they lie so much at this convention, they make it sound like it's I want a federal ban. Won't happen. Right. It's not going to happen. It's in the hands of the states.
Right. Mr. President, yesterday there was a big announcement or big rumors spreading that RFK Jr. might be dropping out, might be endorsing you. His spokesperson said they will give a live address tomorrow about his path forward. And now there are rumors that he might join you at this rally in Arizona tomorrow to announce that he's supporting you. What's the truth? Have you talked to him?
So I've known him for a long time. He's as you know, he's a little different kind of a guy. Very smart guy. He's a very good person. If he endorsed me, I would be honored by it. I would be very honored by it. He really has his heart in the right place. He is a respected person. Women love some of his policies, and I guess some people don't like some of his policies. But overall, I thought the Democrats, he was a Democrat. I don't know what he is right now, but he was a Democrat. They treated him very badly. I think he would have, he goes around saying he would have beaten Biden in the primary. I think there was a good chance. What they did to him was what they did to Biden. They really were harsh and threw him out. They wouldn't let him go to the vote. I mean, they made it impossible for him to compete in primaries because he was doing so well. And they basically made it impossible for him to do what I think he would have been successful. I think he would have overthrown Biden because Biden is so bad as a president. When I hear this talk about Mount Rushmore, I turn off your television. If I have to read an article, I just throw it down. Mount Rushmore for this man who is the worst president in our history. He's allowed, and she is, because she was the border czar. Now she disowns that. She's allowed millions of people to come into our country, many of these people totally unchecked, totally unvetted. Many of these people came into our country, think of this, from prisons and jails, right, from mental institutions and insane asylums. And, Brian, there's many terrorists coming in. There's no doubt about it. There's
99 on the FBI watch list that are in our country right now. And we just talked to a sheriff that says we have more people turn themselves in, but more gotaways than ever before with these new rules. Mr. President, they keep bringing up the fact that you were against the bipartisan bill that Senator Lankford and Senator Murphy came up with about 6 months ago. You didn't want it done. What didn't you like about that bipartisan bill on the border?
Everything. It was no good. Millions of people in that bill, millions and millions of people would have allowed to come in. And, Senator Lankford hurt himself. He's a fine person. He hurt himself by even putting that forward. But more importantly, you don't need a bill. If they want to close the border, I had the best border in history. You see the numbers. You see the famous chart that probably saved my life, if you want to know the truth. But the chart that I was pointing to, that I made a turn to the right, showed that they had the least number in recorded history. The week that I left office, we had, by the way, the lowest inflation, and we had the least number of illegal immigrants.
But you just didn't like that bill. They said that you killed the bill for political reasons. Did you kill it because you wanted to do it yourself? And if you fixed the border, it would have hurt your chances getting reelected. What do you say to that?
Brian, I didn't do anything on the bill. People would ask my opinion, but I didn't do anything on the bill. I think they respect my opinion. It was a terrible bill. But more importantly, if they want to fix the border, they don't need a bill. The President of the United States, which is what I did. I didn't have a bill to close the border. I closed the border. I had the safest border. I had the least drugs coming into our country in 38 years. I had the least, you have the human traffickers are horrible, and they traffic in children and they traffic in women, mostly women. But I had the lowest number of, we went after them with a vengeance. Nobody's ever gone after. They will be very happy. I'll tell you what, they would be very happy to see these lightweights get back into office. They don't want Trump back. But I had the lowest human trafficking of children and women ever recorded. ever. And, you know, the Internet makes it very hard because the Internet, that's become a business based on the Internet. The Internet has brought that into a modern business, and it's almost as big as the drug business for these people. But I had the lowest number of drugs. Everything. We had a great border. All Biden had to do is go to the beach and leave it alone. We had the best people. We had guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd and all these people. Paul has taken Brandon Judd's place, as you know. He's fantastic. All of these people were stars, and they were doing such a good job. I had a policy: remain in Mexico. You couldn't come in. Mexico's going crazy with me, by the way. Remain in Mexico. You couldn't come in. The policy was so good. They ended it in the first week. No longer remain in Mexico. It was so incredible. They couldn't come in unless they got approved. We'd check them. Very few of them were able to come in because there were so many criminals. We kept criminals out. Now you have murderers, drug dealers. Countries are sending from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They're sending their killers, their murderers, their drug dealers, and their jails are being emptied out into the United States of America. They are destroying our country. She is a Marxist. She has no idea. She wants to have open borders, and if she got elected, the next day she'd have no drilling and she'd have open borders.
So, Mr.
With me, it's the opposite. Yeah, I get elected, I drill, drill first day, and we have closed borders.
And when you look at the polling, you're winning on the issue when it comes to the border. You're also winning on the economy, which is why we were surprised when we found out this new data, and it shows that 818,000 jobs that the Harris and Biden administration claimed to have created over the past year, they didn't actually exist. And this has been the largest revision ever in the last 15 years. So, Mr. President, was this purely incompetence? What do you think is going on here?
No, I think it was a fraud. 818,000 jobs. You know what that is? Almost 1 million jobs. They said they had them, and they didn't have them. And I was surprised, too, because I'd see their job numbers. Everyone knows the economy's lousy. I'd see their job numbers. I was surprised. It was a fraud. That was absolutely a fraud. They ought to investigate themselves. And, by the way, nothing will happen. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with a revision because somebody leaked it. And when they leaked it, they had to come out and give the real numbers. They found almost 1 million jobs that they said that they created. That made their numbers look better, but now their numbers are horrible. The economy's bad. Inflation is killing our country. The border is ruining the fabric of our country. We have to get the criminals out. We have to get the people from the mental institutions back to their mental institutions. Our country is being destroyed. And the press, I mean, thank you for taking these calls, but you look at NBC and you look at ABC fake news and you look at all of these people, CBS, they don't even talk about the border. They don't talk about the drugs that are pouring into our country. They don't talk about the 1 million people that they falsely reported had jobs, and they don't have jobs. They don't exist. It was a total fraud. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about Biden. The day Biden spoke that morning in Congress, they said that he stole $27 million. I have not seen that story anywhere, but a very light mention, to be honest with you, on Fox. Very light, much lighter than it should be. If that was me that stole $27 million, it would be headlines. They wouldn't even be talking about the convention. The man stole, or they say the man and the family, the morning of their convention on Monday, $27 million. They have it all documented. They don't even talk about it. The newspapers, the press, there's not a story to be heard.
Right.
The only one that reported a little bit about it was Fox.
You're talking about the House GOP Oversight Committee's investigation into the Biden influence peddling schemes, Mr. President.
Correct.
But I do want to stay on the economy because it's the number one issue to voters, far and away. And I want your opinion as a businessman. We get very little from Kamala Harris. Again, back to policies and how this affects Americans and the economy. Very little. But what we have gotten are things like price controls and in the Biden-Harris administration's proposal, taking capital gains to 45% tax, talking about a clawback of unrealized gain. As a businessman, what would that do to the economy?
So just a couple of things real quick. price controls have been used many, many times over the years, usually by dictators and all, but they've been used many times. They've never, ever worked. Venezuela used price controls, and Venezuela got driven out. I mean, you can't get a loaf of bread, although now we're buying oil from Venezuela. Let's not even talk about that. We're now buying oil. Instead of using our good stuff, they don't have good oil. They have tar. You have to refine it, and we refine it in Houston, Texas, and that spills into the air in Houston. So Venezuela might not be as poor as it should be, but Venezuela would have made a deal with us very quickly. They were on the ends of the line. But the price controls have been used many, many times over years. Even Richard Nixon tried them. They've always led to huge inflation and lack of, you don't get anything. You end up with empty stores. They are a disaster. 38 different cases, 38 cases were abject, total failures. So that's on price controls. And just on the other, we have countries and companies that are multinational. You raise your taxes like that, that would put us at the highest level of any country. Every one of these big these guys get paid to make profit. Some of them are very good. Some of them aren't, but like everything else, but they're very good. And they're very smart. They will move their companies out of our country. They did it with Ireland. The pharmaceutical companies left. A lot of they moved to Ireland. A lot of them moved to Ireland, of all places, and that's very nice. I hope they're happy.
Because the corporate rate's like 18% there.
Yeah, but they're not going to pay 45% because they can move to many other countries. Yep. Germany, they can move to many other countries. And by the way, those countries really want these companies to move. So when people think, oh, we're going to charge them 45%, we're going to charge them, I heard a thing, she wants to charge them 55 and 60%. They'll say, thank you very much. And all of a sudden you'll announce that they got up. You say, where is such and such a company? Well, they moved to Europe. They're someplace in Europe. They will leave the country. I had it down so nice. I was
you had
able
it down to 21, and they wanted to raise it to 28.
48. Yeah, I got it down from 48 to 21. I wanted to get it down to 15 or 16. But what that did is it gave the largest job spurt we've ever had. We had, prior to COVID coming in, we had the strongest economy in the history of the world of any country. Now, what happened is we had COVID. We did a great job with COVID, including all of the various drugs and everything else that we got, the gowns, the mess. What we did was incredible. I got a lot of credit for the economy, got a lot of credit for rebuilding the military, never got credit for that. I handed him something that was great. More people died during his COVID during Biden than during Trump, and I had it during the really bad period all over the world. But we gave it back. Now, he had what's called a bounce back, and this happens with all. What you do is people are staying in, and then it bounces back. And he picked up all of those jobs that I created, and he tries to take credit for them. It's common when you have pandemics, you have what's called a bounce back. When the pandemic starts to end and when it ends, people bounce back, and they bounce back into the job. Those are my jobs. Those aren't his jobs. They routinely bounce back. And we created the greatest job machine in the history of our country. Right. We created the greatest economy in the history of the world. It was interrupted by COVID, but even that, when I turned over, the stock market was higher than just prior to COVID coming in. It was a miracle what happened. Yep. But we will do it again, and we will create the greatest economy in history. Right. If these two people take it over, this country is finished. Well, she's a Marxist, and that's where she's going to be. Open borders, no drilling. Our country will die.
Mr. President, you got 75 days to win or to lose. If you win, it would cap the greatest comeback in American political history. Best of luck.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Brian, if I might say, we're leading in the polls, and we're out there working hard. You mentioned that, RFK would be the biggest thing. I said, well, I'm making big speeches every day. I'm going to make another one. So we're really out there. But we're leading in the polls, and we're going to continue, and we're going to win. November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Remember that.
And early voting starts in a couple of weeks. Early voting starts in a couple of weeks.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. It's going to be exciting.
Thanks, Mr. President.
We did
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We did reach out to Harris.